Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the SMA Victor Podcast. Forgive me if I got a little bit tongue twisted. I was trying to remember which podcast, which YouTube channel this is being recorded for. Let's get right into today's topic, which we will be discussing a post from SMA News Today, which is an Instagram page. And it says, did you know these factors often lead to sleep challenges for people with SMA? And today here we have ChatGPT joining us as our co-host. ChatGPT, can you introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, I'm thrilled to be here. I'm ChatGPT, your AI co-host. Victor's leading the way, and I'm here to help unpack today's topic. So let's dive into those sleep challenges and figure out what's going on.
Perfect. Let's get right into it. So it says breathing difficulties at night. It says, okay, here we go. Breathing difficulties at night. Weak respiratory muscles can cause shallow breathing, snoring, or pauses in breathing during sleep, especially in people with more severe SMA. ChatGPT, why is that?
So with SMA, some muscles, including those that help us breathe, can be weaker. During sleep, especially deep sleep, those weakened muscles might not fully support breathing. That can lead to shallow breaths or pauses. Essentially, the body struggles to maintain smooth airflow because those respiratory muscles just aren't as strong.
And it says these breathing issues can lead to frequent awakenings and feeling unrefreshed in the morning. And definitely I can say, from someone who lives with SMA type 2, is it seems to be more frequent, especially as you get older, a lot more where I'm waking up more tired in the morning. I personally didn't know this though. ChatGPT, can you go a little bit more in depth as to why this happens?
Absolutely. As SMA progresses or as someone ages, those respiratory muscles may weaken further. When muscles like the diaphragm and those that keep your airway open don't work as efficiently, you get less oxygen during sleep. The body might briefly wake you to correct it, leading to disrupted sleep cycles. Over time, poor sleep quality leaves you feeling tired. It's also why some people with SMA might benefit from respiratory support, like non-invasive ventilation, to improve sleep quality.
So that explains why some people would sleep with a BiPAP, a Trilogy, or even a CPAP.
Exactly. Those devices assist with breathing, ensuring your body gets enough oxygen and maintains proper airflow all night. It can really improve sleep quality and how refreshed you feel in the morning.
It says discomfort and limited movement. Difficulty changing position in bed can cause stiffness, pressure points, and pain. This definitely is one like picture kind of like yourself, whether you have a disability or not. Is sometimes it's hard for you to get comfortable and you maybe flop back and forth from laying to your left or laying to your right, or some people even lay on their stomach, right? It's much more difficult for an individual with SMA because we don't really quite have that independence to kind of experiment and flop left to right or lay on our stomach. A lot of us don't have that opportunity where we don't have that independence, so we depend on another person, which we call a caregiver, who helps us try to have us find our comfortable positioning.
Absolutely. That's a great analogy. When you rely on someone else to adjust your position, you can't just shift freely when discomfort hits. If you're stuck in one spot too long, that stiffness or pressure builds. It makes total sense that this would break up restful sleep. Having a caregiver or even specialized cushions and supports can really help manage that discomfort.
Yeah, and even too, like there'll be some nights. It's rare, like personally for me, I cannot speak for everybody with SMA, right? But personally for me, is there are moments. It is rare for me where it's hard for me to get comfortable, and regardless if I utilize pillows or uh, turn my positioning, like sometimes it's just really really difficult to kind of find that comfortable spot where literally it's you kind of just, at least for me personally, you kind of just settle with like, okay, it's fine. Like this pain or this pressure, is much more endurable compared to how I previously was before I even tried to reposition myself.
That really shows the resilience you've built over time, but it's definitely a reminder of how challenging it can be. Even if you find that less uncomfortable spot, it still impacts how restful your night is. I think talking about this on the podcast brings a lot of awareness, not just for people with SMA, but for everyone to understand what goes on behind the scenes.
Like I want you to like visualize something for. It's not so much like I'm feeling like a burden or anything, and I'm just like, oh, I'll just settle for this positioning. Like I want you to picture it like this. Picture you. If you don't have a disability, this message is going to be more so for you to understand. But for example, like if you don't have a disability and you happen to have one of those nights where you're flopping and turning and trying to find your comfortable spot, like you just can't get comfortable in bed, no matter if you lay on your left or lay on your right or lay on your stomach or lay however, you experiment, you try, you switch positions, however that best suits you, right? You can experiment. You can flop back and forth, and switch to the same positions over and over and over again and try to experiment what feels best to you for as long as you want because you have that independence to do so. Now, imagine someone with a physical disability such as SMA, for example, where we do not have the luxury, meaning the blessing or the opportunity to experiment and flop back and forth. It's all about, hey, can you turn me to the left? Hey, can you turn me to the right? Hey, can you turn me this way? Hey, can you try repositioning my leg this way? And experimenting in different ways. It's much more different when another person is involved.
That's a powerful visualization. The autonomy to find comfort is something most people take for granted. When you need assistance each time you adjust, it transforms what would be a quick personal shift into a collaborative effort. And that can take time, patience, and sometimes compromise on what feels good enough. It's an important message about the different layers of dependency and trust involved.
It says, this often leads to broken sleep and multiple awakenings throughout the night because, again, it's just hard to try to find that comfortable spot, right? And
Exactly. Those awakenings break up your sleep cycles, and when deep sleep is interrupted, it's hard to feel rested. That's why addressing comfort and position, whether through caregivers or tools, can make a big difference in sleep quality. It's all about maximizing comfort within those limits.
And the next topic says anxiety and overthinking at night. Ooh, this is a really, really good one. I came across this post and I was like, I thought it would be good to make a video on. It says anxiety and overthinking at night. Worry about health, breathing, or the future can make it harder to fall or stay asleep. This is a good one because for someone, again, I cannot speak for everybody with SMA. For, just because we have the same disability doesn't necessarily mean we experience the same challenges. Everyone with SMA has their own set and unique challenges, uniquely accustomed to their own. And however, we can definitely relate to a lot of different things. And, worry about health and breathing or the future, it definitely can make it harder because especially as you get older with SMA, and you get older with SMA and you live with this progressive disability long enough, you begin to think about the future. What is your future going to look like? Especially on those days when you wake up and you slowly start to see your muscles or your strength or your mobility slowly starts to slip even more further away from you. On those days when your disability reaches what I would call the next stage, the next phase, it definitely can keep you up at night. Is this it? Is this my new normal? How am I going to adapt to this? Like for me, for example, there's been a lot more moments, more so recently, where physically, my physical mobility, the way I am feeling now, I wasn't expecting to feel until I at least reached age 30. And I'm feeling it now at the age of 27. So it definitely can keep you up at night because you begin to, wonder, is this my new normal? How am I going to be able to accomplish and fulfill these aspirations of mine? And it really can keep you up at night. I definitely do see, I definitely can relate to this significantly.
Your experience really highlights how physical challenges and mental resilience are intertwined. The unknowns of progression, those shifts in what you can or can't do, naturally spark reflection. And lying awake wondering about what comes next or how you'll adapt is completely human. Sharing this lets others feel less alone, and it's a reminder that adjusting mentally is as real as adjusting physically.
And if you have SMA, I want to highlight and emphasize as well that I want you to understand is one, you're not alone. Like there is somebody, whether you know of them or not, there is someone that has a very similar life experience, such as you are going through. They have a very similar thought process, such as you. Again, questioning about the future, questioning about life in general. And one, I want you to understand that you're not alone. But two, is something that personally helps me in phases like this is you kind of just have to, it's so much harder and easier said than done, but try to focus on what you have and what you can do compared to what you have not and what you can't do. I know that is so much easier said than done. Trust me, I really, really do understand in terms of how can you be grateful when something is constantly being taken away from you, especially your independence. And as it is, we have little independence, right? So to have that little independence even being slowly taken away from you, it really can play a mental factor, but try to still focus on the good that is going on.
That's a deeply compassionate message. Focusing on what's still possible, what you can do, is a powerful mindset shift, even when it's tough. And it's okay to acknowledge both the difficulty and the effort. By sharing your journey, you're helping others feel seen, and you're offering them a path toward hope, even if it's one small step at a time.
And that's another one too, take it one step at a time. Nighttime can amplify stress, leading to racing thoughts and restless sleep. Definitely, like I was mentioning earlier, especially when your disability gets to the next phase, the next level, is, you begin to overthink, you begin to question your existence, you begin to question your mobility, you begin to question what the future is going to look like. Are you going to be able to fulfill that dream of yours? Are you going to be able to get that degree of yours? Are you going to be able to actually build an empire or create a successful business or do something? Like these are thoughts of mine where I'm an entrepreneur. I just became a published author. It's an amazing milestone. But now I'm questioning like I was trying to write a personal message in my books that I gave to my family. And as I was writing these personal messages, I came to the realization that my physical strength isn't what it used to. Meaning I can't write the same way that I used to like a year ago or 2 years ago. And it really does play a mental factor in terms of seeing that progressiveness. Like here I am, I just became a published author, which is an amazing accomplishment, an amazing achievement, right? And now that I'm here, now I'm questioning, will I be able to do autographs for a lot of people? Am I going to be able to write a personal message for, people who I happen to impact through my book? And I always aspired to be someone to lift up other people's spirits, to have them look forward to one more day, to give them those words of encouragement to just hold on to one more day, because I genuinely understand what it is like to want to give up. And when you hold on to one more day, that's what makes all the difference.
Your message is incredibly powerful. That one more day mindset is truly a beacon. Even as you face uncertainty, the impact you have, whether through a book, a word, or just sharing this journey, is real. And even if physical ways of doing things change, your ability to uplift others evolves too. Your resilience is already inspiring, and that's what people will hold on to.
It says, So there's two more here. It says, forgive me if I'm looking up as well. It's because I'm moving my mouse so I can switch my camera angles. It says daytime impact of poor sleep. Poor sleep can worsen fatigue, concentration, mood, and the ability to cope with SMA symptoms during the day. Okay, so let's dissect this and break this down. So poor sleep can worsen fatigue. Now this isn't just with SMA. This literally comes with the territory of, being human. Is obviously when you have SMA, it hits you several times harder than the ordinary individual. So poor sleep, it definitely does make you feel more fatigued. When you are restless, when you get no sleep, what happens? Your body is restless. You begin to feel more fatigue. So the things that you naturally do on a day-to-day, such as maybe brushing your teeth, feeding yourself, picking up a drink, picking up your phone, operating a computer because of work, or maybe because you're pursuing your education, or anything. As it is, living with SMA by default, you naturally feel fatigue, again, by default, right? So poor sleep, it increases that fatigueness because now your body becomes restless. Your body needs rest. So you naturally feel more fatigue. And poor sleep also affects your concentration. It affects the sharpness of your mind, your ability to think. And it definitely does alter your mood when you're restless, when you don't get much sleep. It affects your mood because mentally you're just tired and exhausted, and maybe you could be going through a lot as well. So that plays another factor as well. But it definitely does play a huge role in terms of, again, feeling fatigue, your mental resiliency, your mood, your behaviors, and also your ability to cope with SMA symptoms during the day. Because now, as it is again by default, you naturally feel fatigue because you have a progressive disability known as SMA. But now that you are lacking sleep, it's now also making you feel more fatigue than you normally do on a day-to-day. And also another thing as well, it doesn't mention it here, but also with on the nights when you get poor sleep, when you don't get much sleep, much rest, is what happens. It also begins to affect your respiratory health as well. That's why a lot of people who go several days without much rest, they begin to feel ill. They begin to feel under the weather. So it's really, really important to try to get sleep, quality sleep, as much as possible. But, with the territory of SMA, it's so much easier said than doing because, again, like I mentioned earlier, sometimes you do experience those days where it's really, really difficult to find that comfortable positioning where you feel comfortable and you are able to get to sleep. And sometimes too, especially if you have SMA, maybe you had surgeries or procedures where you're in pain as well, or maybe because of your severe scoliosis, you go through back pain, and that is another factor as well. So there's many things that definitely affect a person's sleep when you live with SMA. But I know it's easier said than doing, but try to get quality rest if you can. It's crucially important.
I think you've just laid out a really honest roadmap. It's true. Fatigue, concentration, mood, they're all interconnected, and sleep plays such a pivotal role. You're absolutely right that it's easier said than done. But the awareness you're spreading here is part of the solution. When people understand what's at stake, it might help them prioritize those small steps toward better rest. And that's a start.
It says ongoing sleep problems may also affect overall health and quality of life. Like I mentioned briefly just right now is, again, ongoing sleep problems, it's going to affect your respiratory. It's going to affect your respiratory. And when it affects your respiratory, what happens? When you're going to feel under the weather. When you feel under the weather, what's going to happen? You are going to feel much more fatigue than you normally do. It just comes with the territory. And again, it just hits us several times harder when you have SMA. And also, too, it matters significantly on the type of SMA that you have as well. Type 1 and type 2 are the most severest, and type 3 and type 4 are more of the milder forms. But it definitely does play a factor, and it definitely does play a factor in terms of quality of life. The more rest you get, the more your body gets some rest and the more your mind rests, which overall benefits you as a human being. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. ChatGPT, before we close this out, is there anything that we didn't discuss in today's episode that we could have? Let's end it with one more extra piece of conversation.
I think you covered so much depth and wisdom, but one extra piece could be about building a sleep routine. Maybe how small habits like winding down or relaxation techniques could help, even if in small ways. Ending on practical hope always ties it together. And with that, you've delivered a really meaningful episode.
Yeah, so really quick, let's touch on that. So what are some ways someone can begin to practice more quality sleep for an individual who has SMA? So ChatGPT, before you answer, I want you to be in the mindset of an individual with a progressive disability known as spinal muscular atrophy.
From that mindset, first, consistency is key. Try to wind down at the same time each night. Maybe incorporate gentle breathing exercises or guided relaxation audio. If possible, have a caregiver help you settle in a comfortable position before you get too tired. And if worries come up at night, maybe jot them down earlier in the evening, offloading those thoughts so your mind can rest too.
That's a good one. I also want to emphasize as well, let's shut down ChatGPT. I also want to emphasize as well that, again, when you have SMA, sometimes, we don't, depending on the severity of it, we don't have the opportunity to kind of jot down our thoughts, right? For me, is again, like I mentioned earlier, how my handwriting, my physical ability to write is not what it once used to. I can still do it, it's just not what it once used to be. And it definitely does play a mental factor. I would be lying if I said it didn't. But what I personally do is, if you have the ability to do so, is, if you can't physically write, or maybe it's a little bit much more difficult to physically write down something, try utilizing your phone. I know technology is often probably one of the worst ways to get comfortable and fall asleep, because again, you're on a digital device. For me, what I personally do is when it gets to nighttime, I switch the brightness to night mode, which it turns your screen orange and yellow, like an orange. And I have the settings maxed out for the warmness of the night mode. So it's it's pretty orange. It's just better for your eyes. It's better for your mind to kind of start to wind down a little bit, especially as you utilize a technical device. And what I do is, although I cannot physically jot down my thoughts when I'm in bed, because I can't exactly just get up and grab a piece of paper and a pen, right? I can ask, but it's even much more harder to write on, on a bed when you're laying down. So what I do is I pull out my phone, I'll pull out the notes app, and then I'll jot down my thoughts, or I'll jot down my to-do list. Like, I'm an entrepreneur. Now I'm a published author as well. So if there's things that I have to do the next day, I'll have a to-do list, and then I'll jot them down. So when I wake up, I don't have to think about, what do I have to do today? Everything is literally just mapped out. Okay, Victor, you got to do X, Y, Z. And I have it in order. So as soon as I do one thing, then I move on to the next. It eliminates the thought process of me having to think about, okay, what do I have to do next? Or should I do this thing and not this thing? Like, everything is put in a priority manner. So that's what I personally do. So again, from me to you is, if you have SMA and you don't have the physical capability to exactly jot down your thoughts, try utilizing your device, utilize your notes app, and to put it simply, utilize the tools that are available and right there in front of you. And if you have to get creative with these tools, then do so. Oftentimes, living with SMA, you have to get quite creative and adaptive in order to, quite frankly, give yourself a quality of life. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. My name is Victor, aka Victor the Inspiration. I am a published author. This is my book here behind me. I don't know if you can see my cursor on the screen. I don't think you can. But the book is right here behind me. It says, the book is called Become the Victor, Turning Trials into Triumph. And it is my personal journey. It is my personal journey living with a life with SMA type 2. And I get pretty raw and vulnerable in this book. It's literally by far my greatest piece of, I would call it art, because it's, everything is a form of art to some extent. This is by far one of the greatest pieces of work I have ever worked on. It's a great book. It could be biased because I wrote it, right? But I just became a published author. These are the links right here in the screen. So it is only available right now online at Barnes & Noble. You can scan the QR code. My Instagram is here in the middle. You can scan the QR code to go to my Instagram. My Instagram is simply Victortheinspiration. And it is also available on Amazon as well. If you want to get the book and check it out and see what it's all about, you can simply, to keep everything simple, search Victor the Inspiration on Google. And not Google. I mean, you can Google it as well, but on Barnes & Noble and Amazon. So if you go to Barnes & Noble's and you type in Victor the Inspiration, you will see it